It has now been 2 weeks since my car has been on the road, and it's been an absolute headache trying to sort the engine out, but I can guarantee you today that headache is going to end. Yep, that's right. My car hasn't been started or driven for almost 2 weeks now. After completely failing to change the rocker cover gasket a couple weeks ago, my car's just been sat there collecting dust. I mean, just look at her, she looks really sorry for herself at the moment. But my goal over the past couple of weeks was to get her started and back on the road again, and also add a couple modifications along the way. As many of you would have seen in the previous video, we attempted to change the rocker cover gasket on my car, and let's just say, well, it smells a little bit like petrol, and we ended up failing quite bad at trying to basically change it. We made a few really big mistakes. So amongst all those problems, we also dropped a spanner through the engine down onto the under tray, and that's gonna be the first thing we tackle today. So I say let's just crack on. We take that under tray off. It's a couple bolts holding it on from underneath the car, and then it should just drop off and give us our spanner back. Luckily, we didn't even need to drop the whole under tray off. We just took all the front ones out and then some out of the side, and we could just pry it down enough to be able to grab the spanner, which was quite lucky actually. Right then, my cheesers, we got that spanner out. Really lovely, quick and easy job. Let's get back to basically having the camshafts exposed by removing all of this again. So it's the same as last time out. We took off the positive connector, the engine cover, all of the fuel rail, all of the coil packs, all of the coils, everything over there, and then we could actually take off the rocker cover itself. So with the gasket now off the car, we are obviously back at the stage with the camshafts exposed. And I found out we actually snapped the bolt. We didn't round it off, which I kind of hoped we had rounded it off because I could have fixed that a bit easier. But it's not the end of the world because there obviously is like another 20 bolts holding this on, so it should hopefully not leak oil. Especially when BMW put their engines at an angle, all the oil, as you can see, is kind of just sat on the bottom camshaft. So it shouldn't affect engine performance or like oil leaking, hopefully too much. But this PCV pipe obviously snapped. We know how to get it off, put it that way, and it is so straightforward. It's the easiest £25 mistake. Yeah, honestly, it's a £25 mistake that we could have easily missed if we had just used our brains that little bit more. Let's change this PCV pipe bit, like kind of, because I have had a feel and it does go down under the inlet manifold to here, so that will need to come off. But I don't think we're gonna have to do that today because we are running out of daylight again. It's about 7:30, maybe 7:45 or so. And we're also gonna change this gasket. So let's just do all that, shall we? This was a £25 mistake which cost me so much in the end in terms of time. Trying to get the PCV pipe off, I ended up pulling it and it just snapped off. But all I really needed to do was just take a flathead screwdriver and just almost tip it off from the valve. So easy, and now I kind of look a little bit of a fool for not even trying it this way. Next up, we changed the fuel pump gasket sitting on top of the rocker cover. And lastly, we put the rocker cover back into place, making sure to torque down every single bolt except for the one that snapped right at the very front of the engine. That is actually the rocker cover gasket fully changed and torqued back up now, which is a pretty big milestone actually, considering where we were last week with obviously everything kind of in a mess and we were in such a bad state. Where we're at now is really good. We've now got the gasket for the fuel one to change quickly or just put on, and then we will bolt that back down, and then I might try and change the spark plugs because I've got some new ones, but if I can't pull them out, I'm fine to stick with the old ones. So now we're back on with the HT leads for each spark plug, all the fuel rail, the fuel pump, everything that sat basically on top of the rocker cover was back on. GoPro is about to die, so if the quality is not as good, it might be because it's on my phone. So we've got all the lines for the fuel rail on, all the way back to here. All of the coil packs are back in, all plugged down, all electrical cables are on, that one there and then those down there. Everything pretty much I know can be torqued up is now torqued up. It's time to get that bad boy back on top of the engine. The engine cover just slid straight back over the top and was held on by 3 bolts, 2 at the front, 1 at the back. That is so much progress made in 1 day. I am over the moon with that. We managed to do all of this in 2 hours, and last week it took us 5 hours to basically get nowhere, just take it all apart. So for 2 hours work this week, and to be able to get to where I'm at, I am so pleased. I'm so proud of ourselves. But tomorrow, it's time to take that intake manifold off and attempt to change that PCV pipe, and then we'll try and start the car for the first time and possibly get it out on the road.
The next day.
It's now a new day, but before we even crack on with obviously removing the intake manifold and everything, look how dusty the car is getting from just sitting here for the past almost 2 weeks. But I think we're gonna try and get it started tonight, but we've got quite a lot of work to do first. So let's just get everything removed so we can change that pipe that is obviously snapped, and then, and only then, can we try and properly start the car for the first time. I'm so nervous, but just like last week, if we just stick to it and just keep on that, or just keep at it, we will get this done. First things first then, we're going to want to take off all of the air systems, so the air box, this cover here, MAF sensor, like this hose clamp, basically remove all of that. But I'm not gonna like really show you how to do it, it's just gonna be in the time lapse because I have done that before. I'll leave a link to the video up here for where I've done that. And then we're gonna take off the engine cover, which we've done so many times recently. And then once we do all that, we can start work properly on removing the intake manifold. So as just mentioned, the first things out was the air box, cover from the radiator, which just feeds cold air, and then the pipe which feeds the air from the air box into the throttle body. So 5 minutes later, we are out with the air box and obviously this bit of trim here. We've taken off the pipe that leads into where the throttle body is. It's now time to take out all of these electrical connectors, disconnect this. I think that's the low pressure fuel pump bit, or it deals like the low pressure of like the fuel, I think. And then we can start proper access on what's down here. This can also be moved out of the way as well. And I think maybe I could disconnect this. I can move that out of the way. Unfortunately, I don't have an 18E female torque piece, but if I did, I would take off this piece of trim up here, and then I'll be able to remove this strut bar. But unfortunately, as I don't have the correct piece, I can't do that. So if you're doing this, definitely remove this strut bar because it just gives you a little bit more access to basically everything you're about to remove. First thing I disconnected was low pressure fuel pump, and then I took apart the wires that just basically sat across the top of the engine for a bit more room, followed by every single electrical connector around the intake manifold, and then all of the bolts that held it down. As I thought everything was disconnected, we tried to take the intake manifold out, not realising it was still held down by the EGR. Right, Joe's back and he's just started up his own detailing company. I'll leave some links to it down in the description below. But right now we're currently stumped on, well, basically we've taken everything off of the manifold. It's loose, but somewhere down the back here, there's basically like a plate that's bolting the manifold onto the side of the engine block. And it's the only thing we've got left to remove, but we can't reach it. So it's preventing us from taking it out and obviously then being able to change this pipe. But yeah, we're just gonna have to try and work this out because we're stumped, like I said.
A few moments later.
We've done it. We've done it. We've got it off. We've got it off. It was a little bit of a fiddle, but we managed to get basically a wrench with a bunch of extensions all the way down onto the bolts down here, cracked them loose, and then finished it off with fingers. But now we should be able to lift up the inlet manifold. And I think there's maybe a couple more things underneath that's holding it on. But once we've lifted it up and taken it off, we can then take off this adapter plate, change it over, and then pair everything back together and start the car for the first time in almost 2 weeks. I'm so excited. Joe, are you excited?
I'm very excited.
This is gonna be absolutely gas. Come on. So we've basically got it to the point now where the manifold is loose, but it's not coming out and it's getting really tight. And we just can't get it out. But we have got, fingers crossed, a solution to this. Joe's dad is a mechanic and he's said he's gonna come down and help us get it off. But what's the time? It's like 8:30, isn't it? Yeah, it's 8:30 right now. Got basically an hour left of daylight. I don't think we're gonna be able to get it all done today, which is unfortunate because I was really wanting to get my car back on, well, I started tonight. But I am feeling really positive that tomorrow will definitely be the day where we get this back started and running again. It's just a little unfortunate that we got to this part right now, or we got this far in. We can't really finish the job, you know, but it's a lesson learned, obviously. So hopefully Joe's dad comes and we'll get the manifold off completely. All right, I look like a Sims character, but thanks to Joe's dad, we've managed to take off the inlet manifold now. And well, as you can tell, it's pitch black out here, but we've covered the inlet manifold up with a bit of tape, and we'll come back to this tomorrow. But we'll definitely, I'm not going to say definitely, we'll hopefully get the car running. Catch back in with you tomorrow.
The next day.
Day 3, we're back at this again, and a proper look at the aftermath of last night's job. It's a mess. We've got the inlet ducts covered up here, with the fuel pit down there covered up like this. But we're going to take off this strut bar, as that was preventing us from getting the inlet manifold out properly last night. So there's an 18E just under that cover there, and then that one's a 14E. And we should be able to take that bar out. And then we should, hopefully, be able to drop that back in with the new pipe on. Let's get to work. It's also like 4 o'clock, so we've actually started earlier today. We can get this done, we have faith. First job of the day was to take out the right strut bar. Like I said, it was just the 18E and the 14E, and it slid straight out. There, really quick, easy job to get that strut bar out. But now, this is the whole reason as to why we've done it, obviously, that snap pipe. So this plate here, it's gonna be 3, maybe T20s or T27s or 25s, I'm not sure which ones. Take those 3 off, that plate will come off, and then we'll be replacing it with this one right there. There's a couple gaskets as well that we need to transfer over, so we'll be doing that now. Next, we changed the broken PCV pipe to the brand new one that we got, and also put the EGR back on. And afterwards, we're able to drop the intake manifold back into position, make sure to connect that little PCV cable underneath the manifold. So we're making really, really good progress now. Intake manifold is back into position. We've got the CCV or the PCV clip back in underneath. It's now time to put the 5 bolts on top. These 2 down here, then there's 2 over there which hold the, I can't remember what the pipe's called actually, but holds that pipe on. There's a gasket to go on that as well. That's connecting everything back up. And then the airbox. All 7 bolts hold the intake manifold down, went back in and got torqued up really easily. I was then able to connect all the electrical cables back on until we hit this brick wall known as an EGR. And this is where the pain began. The EGR pipe, which is made pretty much of just solid metal, would not bend into place. We tried getting the bolts in, they were just going in at horrible angles. I had a go, Joe had a go, my dad had a go, everybody had a go at this, and it just was not going in. It was the last thing we needed to do to put the whole car back together. It was just stopping us.
3 days later.
It's now a new week. It's Tuesday? It's Tuesday. We've been at this obviously now since Wednesday last week, and my car literally hasn't been on the road since Thursday 2 weeks ago now. And what really stopped us on Friday was the EGR. It's somewhere down the back, just down there. It's really difficult to see, but we could not get the EGR in, and it's just down such a tight hole, and it's so annoying to get to. But we're not stopping until we get that in stay. Right, let's just get this done. Just like before, we were at the EGR for a long time. We tried so many different extensions, different angles. The bolts just couldn't go in straight, and the pipe would just not move into position to allow the bolts to go in straight, basically. I got to the point where I just gave up pretty much. So we are still stuck with the EGR. It just won't go in straight. The bolts are basically going at an angle like this, and it's just not going very well. But this car is not just an engine rebuild car, as many of you would have known from some of my previous videos. You'll know that this is my personal car that I am modifying. And at the moment we're running this horrible stock rear bumper, and you would have known the situation where obviously we had the white bumper and we got quoted £360 to get it resprayed. Well, in the very messy garage at the moment, we've got the white bumper and a black front and rear bumper to go into the car once obviously we've put all of this back together. But we're going to do it now instead. Whoa, we were literally just about to do the bumper, but we got a quick update. Joe's dad, who is a mechanic, is going to come down in a little bit and do the EGR for us. Thank God. Let's go. Come on. I've never fitted or taken off a bumper before, but by looking at this rear one, so we have some bolts which are on the under tray, some down the inside of the wheel arch, one at the bottom down there, and then after that it looks like it's all just clips pretty much the rest of the way around. Hopefully we don't snap the other one. Let's get this one on. First of all, we took the rear left wheel off so that we could get a bit more access to the inside of the arch, and also Joe offered to paint my brake caliper. Once the wheel was off, we managed to get all the bolts out for the rear bumper, and it just came off really easy after that because it was just held on by clips. And then the M Sport bumper just clipped back into position. We put all the bolts in, and then we also took off the rear tow hook as well. And then finally we put the rear diffuser on to complete the look. Alright, update. So the rear bumper is basically on. We've just got to cut all these zip ties which is holding the what's it called on? The tow hook, because it's the electrical bit. Cut them off, get the diffuser on, bolt all together, bosh, done. Joe over here has done that caliper, it looks excellent, that done. And then the main important part, the engine. Well, the inlet manifold's on the floor and we're back to square one basically. And the reason why is the ECG down here, as you can see that plate just there, the threads are rounded on there unfortunately because it just wouldn't go in straight, it kept going at an angle, and the bolts, well, the bolts look like this. Just, yeah, it's not very good. So we're going to order some new inlet manifold ports, like the rubber ones, and then we're going to change them, or the O-rings should I say, for the ports. We're going to change them whilst it's off the car, as I think that's probably a good idea. And then we're going to try and re-tap those holes, put a new bolt in, make sure it all goes through okay, because they're not blind, they're through holes, which is perfect. And then chuck it all back together, hopefully, but that is the plan. But as that's not a today job, let's finish off this rear bumper. So, rear bumper, fully on, bolted in, everything. Looks fantastic. Just need to clean up all of the marks that have been left on it and everything like that. But Joe and his mate will be detailing my car for me, which is excellent. We've also got full M Sport interior trim, which is also awesome because, like I said, I want to turn this into an M Sport car. And, well, you got to do it the right way. Am I right or am I wrong? And then last of all, the front bumper, which we have got, as I previously mentioned, that I want to install next actually, so let's get that in. Front bumper is the exact same as the rear, there's just bolts in the arch liner, there's a few at the top, and obviously all the ones where the under tray sits on the bottom. Now I would have taken it off, but I encountered something that swayed my mind massively to decide to keep it on. Change of plan then. This front bumper that I picked up is pre-facelifted, and you can tell that by the shape of the grille here and then the 3 holes along the top here. Whereas my car is a facelifted version, you can tell it's a curved finish here on the grille and there's only a few bolt holes along the top. But the reason why I'm not going to put this on and end up selling another bumper is there's no part along the top here for the seal that you get here on obviously the facelifted version, and that obviously creates a seal along the front of the bonnet when it's closed, and the fact that the facelifted version does not have that is the reason why I'm not going to put it on, which is slightly unfortunate. But we're going to go out and pick up a facelifted bumper to obviously fix that issue, but I'm not too fussed about that because I got these bumpers for relatively cheap as well, so we can obviously just chuck that one back up for sale like we have with these 2 bumpers in the garage now, but it's alright. It's now time to fix the problem with the EGR, which is obviously those strip threads, as I've now got my tap and my tap wrench, so we're gonna just run the tap back through and hopefully fix these threads. Tap wrench. That's now good to go, and we've also got some new bolts as well to replace the old ones, as they are now obviously, well, they're a bit mangled and not good to use. To gain access back onto that EGR plate, I had to take all of the covers off the top of the engine yet again, and once they were removed, the plate was exposed. All I needed to do then was just run my tap back through the 2 holes, which with the tap wrench was quite easy. After that, I made sure the new bolts went through. Once we'd done this, we put the inlet manifold back in along with the PCV. It finally felt like we were starting to make proper progress. We might have fixed the thing that we've been at for a week now. So the EGR that was just not going in and would not basically allow us to put the car back together, we've put a tap back through the holes, we've re-threaded them, and we did it a different way this time. So we bolted the EGR onto like the pipe that comes up from the exhaust first, and like we kind of did it loose, and then the little pipe that had to sit into the inlet manifold, we somehow managed to maneuver that into the inlet manifold, and it all just dropped into place. And now we are so close to getting my engine back together. I cannot wait, but we can't get too ahead of ourselves at the moment because it still might go wrong, but we're on a good road right now. Let's keep this going. And now it was time to put everything else back on. Every single electrical connector, fuel rail, airbox, engine cover, absolutely everything went back in. The engine is now back together. Oh, this is what 2 weeks has led up to. I am so nervous. If this goes wrong, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but Joe, you ready? Are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready too. Oh my God, okay. let's do this, let's do this. This was it then. The moment the last 2 weeks has been building up to. Seeing if my car even starts and runs for the first time. I was so stressed, dreading that the worst could happen. And to my luck, it did. Oh my God. I'm scared, man. Are you scared?
Yes, very much so.
You're scared? I'm scared. Right, I'm gonna start the ignition. Does that sound okay? Right, I'm gonna warn like say my door's open. Let me just. Come on. Come on, just do it. Just send it. Just send it. Right. Come on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That did not sound good. I turned it off. That did not sound good. Oh, that didn't sound good. Oh, well, that did not run good at all, really. And yet again, I have this horrible draining feeling that it's just never gonna get fixed, and it's just gonna stay this horrible bad way. I don't know. I don't know. I want to give up, but I don't, because I really want to get this fixed. But yeah, it's about to go dark again out here. I'm gonna just put all the trims back again so no water can get into the engine, but I don't know. I don't know. So I've got a plan, and I'm going to plug an OBD into the car and see if I get any warnings or anything wrong with the car or the engine basically, and if there is, try and sort out and see what happens.
The next day.
So unfortunately, my car is still not running. It's not on the road, it's not where I want it to be, but I've got a solution, and well, let's explain it. So me and Joe just plugged in a OBD reader type thing into the car to see if there's any fault codes come up, and nothing came up except a usual couple that are there like before I even took the car apart and tried to do anything to it. So that's kind of left me in a bit of a pickle. I don't really know what the issue is, and I don't really know what to do. So as this is now almost beyond my limits and beyond what I can actually do, I've got the car booked in to be fixed next week on Thursday. Hopefully the guys down at the shop will be able to just fix everything. They said they'll be able to get it back to me on Friday, so the day after, which is only a day of labour, but I can imagine this is going to cost an extortionate amount of money. But this is what happens when you tamper with cars, you don't really know what you're doing. It's the risk that I was willing to take, and I took it, and it's backfired a little bit. But don't let this make you think there won't be a video next week on Sunday. That absolutely will be. But we're going to leave it there for this week. I'll see you next week on Sunday. Have a fantastic week, guys, and I'll catch you then. Peace out.